links. Give me a sec. Sorry. I'll just post on Twitter. I'm going to tag you.
Cool.
Gosh. I wish I had two screens I could do at work.
It says we're live on my end.
Yeah, we are. We are. So,
Okay.
okay. So, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm all right. I've just eaten, so I'm not hungry or anything. So I'm gonna just launch straight into it. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Katrina Clokie. I am currently working as a testing coach at the Bank of New Zealand. I've been in testing for actually not that long, like maybe 5 or 6 years. I have worked in mostly agile teams, mostly as what people consider an agile test engineer. More recently switched into kind of consulting work and now doing coaching, which I really love, like teaching people about testing and helping them get better within my organization.
Okay. And how did you get into context-driven testing?
So I remember the very first role I had where I was doing any testing. I had a senior tester who was sitting with me, and it was the first time he'd shown me what to do to be a tester. And he was showing me in Excel how he'd written out like all the different things that he was going to test, and then we were going to mark them as pass fail. And, he had like a requirements to test case matrix for
Mm.
traceability and all this stuff. And I remember saying to him, like, then, isn't this kind of a waste of time? Like, who actually reads these?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, like, no one really reads them except us. And I was like, then why do you write, like, all this stuff down? Like, what's it for? So I think from the very start of when I was introduced to testing, I felt like it should be less documentation heavy and more context driven than what I was being introduced to. So I was lucky in that the guy who was showing me this stuff had some exposure to James Bark and those sort of ideas and kind of pointed me that way. And then when I changed jobs was the first time I met Aaron Hodder. And then he was like, oh, there's a name for what you want to learn more about, and this is what the name of that thing is, and you should go and learn about it.
Mm. Um, so is it the same guy who was showing you the requirements or the traceability stuff, the same person who got you into context-driven testing?
Pretty
Like who
much,
talked
yep.
about those ideas.
Yep.
How's was it? So was he like doing what he had to do at work, but had secretly different beliefs?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
So we were working at a kind of large, very waterfall orientated um, telecommunications company,
Mm,
and we had kind of some contractual requirements around documentation there.
mm-hmm,
So they weren't based on anything other than that they were like a line in what we had signed to deliver to people. So no one ever read them or used them. But because they were part of the contracts, we had to create them, which was super annoying. So, yes, we were in an environment where we had to do it. But when I was like, this seems dumb, he was like, yes, it is dumb. And here's
yeah.
what we should be doing, but can't.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of weird. So do you think, so did you know about the context-driven school of testing before you learnt? Okay, did you know about it before you had the same sort of thinking? Like you realize you already agreed with their ideas before you actually knew about them? I hope you get what I'm asking.
So I think how would I put it? So I didn't know the specific techniques and things that the context driven school advocate for.
Mm-hmm.
So I had never heard of exploratory testing or session based test management or using visual modeling or anything like that. I didn't have any of the language or skills, but I think I had the principle in that it felt like a more traditional test approach was quite wasteful and seemed like I just felt like I could be doing more testing if I was writing less stuff that no one else was looking at, and that I could be approaching things in different ways depending on the task I was being asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in the environment I was in initially, there wasn't really room to do that. So I didn't have, like, I definitely didn't end up with like making up the context driven skill by myself. But I think that before I knew what it was, I already kind of felt the principles of it
Okay.
myself. Yeah.
So slight change of subject.
Mm-hmm.
You recently presented at Nordic Testing Days, and you are going to go to CAST, or you're going to go to?
No,
No,
not
you went
this
to CAST
year.
last year. Sorry. Okay, you went
Sad
to CAST.
face.
Sorry. Why do you speak at conferences?
Um, so there's a couple of reasons. I actually hate public speaking, and not last year, but the year before, I did like a Toastmasters speechcraft course so that I went from being completely incapable of talking in public to like being okay at it.
You're more than
Um,
okay.
I still look at people who are really good and I'm like, I need to practice more. But
Mm.
so I've worked quite hard to get better at it because I think speaking at conferences, so initially my main motivation was that it meant that the conference was free. And so I was able to go. Like that's the place where I can meet and talk to people that I haven't had the opportunity to chat with before and get new ideas. And that's kind of, I don't tend to do a lot of formal training courses or anything like that. Like conferences are the place where I get my like learning stuff from. And
Mm.
so I speak at them so I can go to them, was one of the main reasons. And then the more I started to do it, the more I feel like obligation's the wrong word, but I feel like there should be more women who speak at conferences, and I feel like I can't be vocal in that position if I'm not doing it.
So,
so I do it to kind of so that I can encourage other people to do it from a position of like not being hypocritical about it,
yeah,
basically.
I was gonna ask if that's what you meant.
Yeah,
You are involved with Speakeasy,
yeah.
which aims to help more women be speaking at testing conferences. How are you finding that so far?
Um, to be honest, I haven't had anyone like formally come through that route to ask me for help. But since I've been like listed on the Speakeasy site, I've had a whole bunch of people contact me through Twitter or just emailing me directly and being like, hey, I know that you don't mind doing this, so can I ask you to help with my proposal? Which
Yeah.
is really cool. Like I've enjoyed, it's been really interesting seeing what other people want to talk about and how they kind of approach writing proposals. So it's been fun.
And so you like to coach and help people. So I'm curious, what advice would you give to someone in the first year of their testing career?
Um, I think, well, it's probably to read widely. So I think it's easy in your first year of testing to get quite focused in on your job and what you're being asked to do and like learning in your domain and not kind of looking outside of your area. And if you keep kind of that broader perspective and, read a couple of blogs every week or follow a couple of people on Twitter or keep that wider view, it gives you a much broader sense of what testing is and what the options are, which I think is a good thing. Like when you're looking for your second job or entering your second year of testing, you've got a better idea of what you know already and what you might want to do next. And yeah, just to have that awareness.
Mm. And someone asked me to ask you this question. I am the only tester in an agile organization with only developers and POs. I assume that means product owners.
Yeah,
How
I'd
do I
guess
get
so.
mentored? And because most people here do not understand testing.
Sorry, I missed the middle part. How do
Sorry.
I get
How do I get mentored? Because most people here do not
mentored?
understand testing.
Um, so how do you get a mentor? So uh, there's lots of options. So there's a lot of mentoring programs around. So Speakeasy, those kind of programs
So are
can.
they also mentoring programs, not just programs to help people speak
I'm
at
pretty
conferences?
sure I'm not misrepresenting this. I guess it depends on what you want to do.
Okay.
If you were to approach any of the people on a page like that, I'm pretty sure they'd be open to mentoring kind of discussions as well.
Okay.
Um, Local meetup groups. So a lot of what the people who have mentored me, it's not like I sat them down one day and was like, will you be my mentor? It
Yeah.
was more that we would have conversations at meetup events, and then afterwards I'd be like, whoa, that's a good idea. Or now I know 3 new people to go and look up
Mm.
articles for or talks from. Um, so those kind of informal chats with people are really good. And then if you really connect with someone, you can go down the route of, would you be my mentor? Which I've had a couple
Sounds
of
so official.
people ask me. I know, which is,
Yeah.
it's kind of like nice and weird. And then it turns out fine, but it is a bit awkward.
Mm.
Um, so within your organization, there might be other testers. So even if not within your team, like
Is
I know
there this? Sorry.
so there was no one in her whole organization who
That's
was a
what she
tester?
said. I'll double check. In an agile organization, only test in the organization.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess maybe people in similar domain in her city or that kind of thing. Um, yeah, reach out to the community. And I guess the other thing is, depending on what she wants to learn, potentially like developers and business analysts and product owners might still have some of the skills that she can learn a lot from them. So especially around test automation, devs are a good
Mm.
resource
Yeah.
around like facilitation and asking good questions. Like business analysts and business leads are quite good people to learn those kind of skills from. So I guess it depends what you want to learn as well. Like testing isn't just learning testing skills. Like
Yeah.
being a good tester, you have to pick up a lot of things.
Yeah. So my next question
Mm-hmm.
is, what's the best thing about coaching a team of testers?
Um, I like being able to have kind of a high level view of what a whole bunch of like really smart people are doing in different teams.
Mm.
So, um, we're working in kind of 3 different channels of products, and all of the stuff happening is quite innovative in both like technology and the business problems being solved. And the type of testing required for that is quite cool.
Yeah.
So being able to get involved in all that instead of just being involved in one piece of it is fun. Um, Having that holistic view makes it easier to identify like the opportunities for improvement,
Mm.
where some teams might be doing something that other teams are not, and in some cases that's a good thing because they're different teams, and in other cases I'm like, oh, you guys should totally be doing this, and I can help kind of pull that across the department so that other people get to pick up new stuff.
Yeah.
um, I also really like connecting people so that they learn from each other.
Mm.
Like you can see someone struggling and you know who they should ask to get help with that thing. Yeah.
Let's go. Sorry, I'm just going to try and see if I can turn off the Q&A feature. If someone wants to ask you a question, they can.
Okay.
Can you see the thing on the left that says Q&A? You Movie Master in the Loop.
Um,
Slight to the side.
yes,
Yeah, when you click it, because mine thing says this feature is disabled.
so does mine.
Okay. All right. What is the most difficult thing about coaching a team of testers?
So the thing I'm really struggling with is I want to help people one-on-one, but I don't want to get in their way. And it's quite hard to judge how to make that work. So I just recently posted about like just this week, I made a menu of kind of coaching services so that people could see what I wanted to be like helping with and like how I thought they could potentially learn new things so that they could then come and ask for the stuff that they wanted
Yeah.
from that. I'm not sure how that's going to work. So the people who were already asking me for help have continued to do so. And so far, I haven't had any kind of the people who weren't
Yeah.
doing it. So I'm still trying to work out a way. Like I feel like scheduled one-on-ones or like going to their desk is too micromanagery and like it feels more top down than I want it to be. Like I kind of
Yeah.
want the coaching role to be more like I'm one of their peers or like just another person they can ask for things. So yeah, but it's a hard relationship to create, I'm finding. So that's probably my biggest challenge. Yeah.
Um, so you're passionate about context-driven testing, and I understand also about Agile.
Hmm.
My question is, do you think it's possible to be a context-driven tester but not into Agile, or vice versa? And if so, how? If not, how not?
This was probably my favorite question on the list that you shared with
Okay.
me earlier. So I saw some stuff on Twitter, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember who was arguing about this, but they were saying that you can't be a context driven agile tester because there's best practices in agile. That's the tweet I saw. And I was like, what? So for me, they really closely align because agile is all about, um, inspect and adapt and improve. So, at regular intervals, think about the way that you work and try and do it better or differently. And to me, that's adapting to context. And so I see that they quite closely align because context driven testing to me is about not applying the same thing every time. It's about looking at the problem that you have and choosing a pragmatic approach for what you need to do. So I don't really get why people would think it was that the two couldn't coexist. And then I guess in terms of can you be context driven and waterfall,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't see why not. I guess the example I gave earlier about being like contractually obliged to do specific test documentation, that's a
Yeah.
pretty big blocker to being able to be context driven. But
Yeah.
if you've not got kind of that legal obligation,
Mm.
then you can still take a pragmatic test approach in a waterfall dev team. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of view it as being independent of development methodology.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry. Next one. What made you decide to start blogging about testing?
I went to a Kiwi workshop on software testing a couple of years ago, and Erin Donnell was talking about, she did an ER about how she got into Twitter and like became more active in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And at that stage, I wasn't on Twitter and I wasn't blogging. And I was like, I should really start doing this. Like, she made it sound awesome. And so my first blog was after that event. It was about like KWST, and I joined Twitter the same night, and
Mm.
kind of started from there. So I think actually that was almost exactly 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure it
Wow.
was like the 7th of July or something. So that's
Oh,
pretty random.
pretty
But yeah,
freaky. It was exactly, was it today's eight? Oh, yeah, freaky, but
pretty close. Yeah.
very close to 2 years. It's funny how you
Yeah.
remember the exact date of when you joined Twitter.
I know, because it was so, I was like, oh, I really didn't want to do it. Like, I was very, very reluctant, but it's
Mm.
been really good. Like, I had no idea how much, um, it's really changed the amount of reading I do and how aware I am of what else is happening in the kind of testing world. Yeah.
And it's kind of made the testing world a lot smaller, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
when I was at Let's Test, there are so many people who I'd been following on Twitter, which was a bit freaky and stalkerish, in my opinion. When I was like, "Oh, but hi, I know your Twitter handle," but
Yeah.
I try not to come across as too creepy when I was saying these things.
I had, so at Nordic Testing Days on my
Mm.
first morning there, I think it was Dan Billing came over to me and said, "Oh, are you Katrina?" And I was like, "Yes, who are you?" Like, yeah, so it is weird when people recognize
But
you.
it's cool after, but the initial few seconds of that happening is
Yes,
a bit
yeah.
fuzzy.
And it
Yeah,
is nice to feel like you're among friends when you go to
yeah,
like a random foreign country and
mm.
yeah,
Yeah. That part helps.
yeah.
So, sorry. What do you wish more people knew about software testing?
Um, I don't know. I think I think my experience has been pretty good. Like I haven't been in any organizations where testing has been dismissed or thought of as like an obligation rather than something of value. Like I haven't had people not know enough about testing to treat it as something, there's been no disrespect.
Yeah.
So I guess everyone I've encountered so far has known enough about testing
Okay.
for me to be able to work with them and to do things well. I guess within testing, I would like more testers to be more active in the community, but I totally get why people aren't because I was very resistant to it as well. Like it seems, I know from the outside that it seems very um, kind of clicky, I guess. Like there's a group of people who are already doing it, and it's a bit intimidating to kind of join that environment and to start, um, tweeting and blogging and going to meetups and going to conferences. But yeah, I wish more people would do that stuff. That would be good.
How long have you been involved in the software testing community?
Like, I would say it's 2 years. So since I joined kind of Twitter and started blogging was when I really got involved. Like I was at KWST the year before I did
Yep.
that,
Yep.
but I didn't really like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't uh I guess I think there's a difference between knowing a few people and going to a conference once a year and
Mm,
being like a more active part of what's going on.
mm, that's
Yeah.
true. Sorry, I'm going to try again to do the Q&A part because I'm sure that there'll be people who come up with much awesome questions than me. I just don't know how to. I'm trying Stack Overflow.
Okay.
But how to enable? Sorry, just give me a minute. So, nope. Sorry, just set up. Enabling to enable the app. Find your event. Okay, I'm just going to try and find the event and follow the instructions. So just bear with me for a minute. I'm really sorry about this.
That's all right. Could we
Click.
use the chat feature?
Well, how do you trigger that?
So there's a blue comment box at the top of that left-hand bar,
Oh yeah.
which tells me that there's 2 other people here and you.
Okay. Okay, so people can just use that. So do you know if anyone viewing this can just use the chat? The top left?
I have no idea.
Or is it just guess? We'll see. We'll see. Okay, cool. It's worth a shot. Where was I? Do you see a problem in the gender ratio in testing?
I don't. Um, but I think that there are fewer women who are active in the community. So in testing in general, I don't think there's an issue. Like especially in New Zealand, all the places I've been have been 50-50 or mostly more women than men. But when I go to conferences in New Zealand, there's always a lot more men speaking, even at the testing events. So
Okay.
I don't think there's a diversity or gender issue in who's in our profession here, but it's the people who choose to kind of speak up about what they do. I think that's still a little bit skewed.
Sorry, it's starting to lag. Have you noticed that in the past 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. It wasn't just me. Okay. What do you believe are the 3 most important traits in a tester?
So being able to ask good questions. And good questions is really subjective, but I did listen to Karen Johnson has a really good webinar on asking good questions, like the art of asking good questions. So that she makes it a bit less like a vague, airy statement into something concrete. So kind of choosing your timing and asking in a way that people respond favorably with the information that you want, like that can be quite hard. So that's definitely one. Being a curious person. So again, it's hard to kind of quantify that. So we usually run like a testing practical interview where we kind of can assess how people approach problems and how curious they are about why they're being asked to do things, and how much they dig into the limits of systems and try and uncover things, just kind of their natural curiosity about what's going on is always really interesting. And then I guess
The first one was asking questions. The second one was curiosity.
Yeah.
And then
I'm trying to think of a word for like knowing when to pick your battles. So I think part of being a really good tester is like knowing which bugs to let go of. So it's very rare that people are going to agree with you about everything that you think is a potential problem.
Yep.
And knowing when to push and how to advocate your position and when to not push and why. I think that's quite an important skill, because those exchanges are what either strengthens your relationships with your development team or totally erodes them. So
How would it
kind
erode
of.
your relationship with the development team?
So if you're a tester who, if you find a bug, it's going to get fixed.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to nag and nag and nag. Um, People will start to resent you, like the developers will resent you, the business people will resent you, like you're going to be annoying. You're going to be taking up time and money that other people don't agree with. Maybe something that's important to you is like a minor issue to other people. Maybe they have a wider perspective than you. There's often reasons that you're not aware of as to why something wouldn't be fixed.
Mm.
And so, you don't want to end up being the tester that's a pain in the ass,
Yeah.
basically, and getting ignored.
That's
Um, so, yeah, I think it can definitely erode perception.
Yeah, I remember one of the first things I was told about testing was that there was a common misconception of it being seen as a gateway
Yeah,
to release. So I guess if you're constantly just saying that all the bugs must be fixed without any real reasoning and as to not being open to debate as to why or why it should not be fixed, then
yeah,
I guess you're not doing anyone much favors in that approach.
yeah.
Uh, there was one more thing I wanted to ask you. Okay, so just to finish off, what is your biggest achievement of your testing career, or what are you most proud of in your testing career?
Um, I think probably recently, like the international conference talks I've done have been pretty exciting for me, and I'm really proud of them. From like a testing perspective, I think probably one of the coolest things was right near the beginning of my career. And I think this is still probably one of the best bugs I've found, where um, we found an issue, or so the issue was reported by a client in production that was causing the customer to lose a lot of money. And it was around cell phone voucher recharge. So this
Mm-hmm.
was a few years back when
Yeah,
you used to have to put in a code and then you'd get like money on
yeah,
your cell phone.
yeah.
Um, and so this got reported, and I worked with a team of developers like during a weekend trying to work out what was going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the person who tracked it down, and we had this little weird behavior where there was like a race condition and two people could get money for one code
Yeah,
in this particular situation. And so that was really fun and cool to like see the impact of a problem,
yeah,
I guess, eye opening, and also to like dig into a real life thing and like work out, actually identify the problem, and then be part of the group of people that fixed it, and then see it like roll into a real life place and be different. Like, for me, on a small scale, you get that all the time, but in this case, it was like millions of dollars and quite exciting technology, and it was
yeah.
just really cool. Like, that's what I like about testing, that it's just really cool.
I agree. I agree. I was recently asked about what I loved about testing, and I struggled to articulate it. Like I kind of just smiled and waved my hands. I did eventually get my point across, but to start off with, it was trying to formulate my thoughts as to exactly why in a way that makes sense to another person and not just my own mind.
Yeah,
Anywho, thanks for taking the time to talk to me about all this.
no problem.
I will you'll be able to see the link, but no. Have a good evening.
You too.
And I'll keep in touch.
Yep.
See you, Katrina.
Alrighty. Bye.